Hello and welcome. I'm Carl Hibbert, Director of B2C Technology at FutureSource, and this is our latest Future session. I'm here today with James Duvall, who is our Principal Analyst for Entertainment at FutureSource. I've managed to grab him today for 10 or so minutes to really pick his brains in terms of what's really been going on over the last couple of years within the entertainment space and what can we really look forward to in 2023 and beyond. So, opening question for you here, James, as well. The last 2 to 3 years have seen significant changes in consumer lifestyles, but also the way they're interacting with technology and entertainment generally as well. Is how has that relayed itself in the entertainment space? What big tectonic shifts have you seen?
A lot of countries had stay-at-home policies in place, which meant people had more time to fill. And so they were looking at how they could fill that time. We've seen a significant shift in the number of people taking out subscriptions, people engaged with transactional kind of content, and looking to kind of not just new release side of content, but also kind of the catalogue, older part of the content sphere that exists. From what we've seen within there, a timely function was the launch just pre-pandemic of Disney Plus, which has seen then at the start of the pandemic a rollout across European countries, and since then is now in a vast array of other countries around the world and growing their subscription base. In fact, alongside the launches of services such as HBO Max and Paramount Plus over the last couple of years, we've seen the subscription numbers rise by 55% versus pre-pandemic levels. And so kind of a huge growth in the number of people engaging with those services. What we're also though seeing is kind of the changing nature in people's willingness to spend, due to kind of the transition from COVID into cost of living. And what we're also then seeing is services trying to make sure they are offering value for money to the consumer. And that way they are doing that is by the introduction of ad tiers, which we have seen launch over the last year from a couple of the big subscription players. This has meant that we've been able to kind of introduce now a lower tier and hopefully a growth in the number of people which will come through into these services.
So looking to 2023, I think there is a significant level of excitement in the industry, isn't there? With regards to all the different dynamics at play at the moment with regards to ad tier, fast channels, push on BVOD, AVOD, all the acronyms of VOD there as well. Is what are your big expectations for 2023? Are we on quite a big, transition of revolution, or are we likely just to see more of a continued evolution on the current pathway we're on?
I think for the year ahead, we will be looking at kind of a evolution of the path we are on. The introduction of ad tiers by the big players isn't going to suddenly change things. It's going to be a slow approach to as they transition their subscription base either across or attracting new subscribers. I think the biggest elements which we'll probably see will be the level of what's kind of called churn within the industry, looking at the number of people who are moving between services. Within the Living with Digital survey, we are able to kind of track across the different services people's intent to keep those services or where they'll look to churn. And we expect across most countries that people will peak around 3 services, but with a vast array available, we will expect to kind of see people come in and out across the year. And I think that will be kind of the biggest element that we'll look to, and the services in the introduction of their ad tiers will need to really kind of look at how they can adapt and bring those in to ensure that they are pitched at the right level, which will help keep those the audiences engaged across their services.
Interesting. Just a follow-up question there, James. You mentioned there almost capping at 3 services being almost like an acceptable level for consumers. Probably the biggest headline this year, or certainly one of them, has been the rising cost of living and consumers actually having to spend more on essential items like food. Mm-hmm. Do you think that tolerance could potentially start to decrease next year, as a result of consumers actually just not having as much to spend?
No, I think subscription services are almost seen as a utility, and that obviously in some countries like the US, the level of average number of services is slightly higher. So people will always want to have escapism. They want to be engaged in content. The services have a huge variety of exclusive and original content that attracts the viewer. And so I almost kind of see people retaining the average number of services, but will be jumping in and out across those different elements. I think really, unless we see kind of the different changes around potential aggregation of services, we'll keep to that element of around 3 for the coming couple of years.
Perfect.